What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And to celebrate me taking a week off YouTube because I got a fucking community guideline strike, I'm probably going to get another one now. I'm going to be talking about the most active and least active UFC fighters. We're going to be looking at guys that some of them, they be taking like a year off. Like, we be wondering, is bro still alive? And then some of them are mad active and you're like, bro, is this dude on crack? This guy's fighting like 5 times a year. So yeah, we've got a tier list here. You can see 5 tiers all the way down from crazy active to is bro alive. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about 25 different UFC fighters. There'll be 5 in each tier. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my picks. What was I going to say? Let me know in the comments as well who I forgot. Who did I forget that is either mad active, like they're just fighting crazy amount of times a year, or they're crazy inactive and we just haven't seen them in fucking centuries. So yeah, starting the video, let's go. Alex Pereira, Mr. Sharma. I'm going to put him in very active and I might move him as the video goes on, but Alex Pereira is very active. I'm just trying to think, since this guy debuted in, it would have been November 2021, he fought November 21, he fought Bruno Silva, like I think it was like February 22, then he fought Sean Strickland in, I think, June 22, then he fought Adesanya November 22, then he fights Adesanya again April 23, fights Jan Blachowicz July 23, fights Yuri November 23, fights Jamal Hill April 24, and then fights Yuri Prohaska in June 24. This dude has been ridiculously active, so I might move him, you know. I'll leave him here for now, but in terms of, like, if that's, like, a normal fighter, like, if that's some unranked guy that's just fighting on the Apex cards, that's not, like, ridiculously active, but I think it's bumped up by the fact that this guy's a champion. Also, at his age, he's, like, 36 or some shit, 37, and this guy's fighting, clocking in at least 3 times a year. Since last year, if you think about it, from the Izzy fight, April, to now, that's the span of, like, 15 months, he's fought 5 times. Like, nuts. Let's move on to another fighter. Nikita Krylov is literally the reason why this tier is called Is Bro Alive? Because for other people, you'll be like, okay, yeah, we've seen them, you know, they're making a social media presence. We know what they're doing. They're just sitting out. But no, Nikita Krylov, this dude is dead. I'm convinced he's died at war. His last Instagram post was like July last year. Dude has not posted on social media in over a year. Have not heard any fight news about him. His last fight was Ryan Spann in March, and this dude just dipped. He won his fight. It's not even like he got KO'd and he needs to recover. Like, he won his fight in the first round comfortably, and now he's dipped. He's just gone. He's dead at war. I'm genuinely convinced he's dead. If anyone can get a welfare check on Nikita Krylov and report back, that would be appreciated. But until we see otherwise, I think we just remove this dude from the rankings because I think it's it's a sign of respect, but I don't think we really need to keep a dead person in the current UFC rankings. So yeah, let's move on to another fighter. Bruv, what you talking about, bruv? Are you Arab? I'm clearly an active champion, bruv. I'm fighting at least twice a year, bruv. Leon Edwards, you know, I'm going to put him in average activity. This guy's very close to inactive. Like, he's borderline inactive. If you wanted to say that he's inactive, I wouldn't dispute you. But I'm kind of going to use this tier as just like the average champions tier, because most of the champions have this kind of activity. Like, he fought Usman for the belt the first time in August 22, fights him in the rematch March 23, fights Colby December 23, and now he's fighting Bilal July 24. Like, it's not good. I'm not claiming that Leon Edwards is like some active champion. He's clearly more towards the inactive than active side. But I don't know. I think it's a lot. He's kind of inactive, but the Colby one was apparently his fault. Like, he apparently was pushing that back a little bit. But the Bilal one, he was going to fight on 300. He was going to have actually ended up being active because he was going to fight 300. He was probably then going to fight July. But the UFC literally was like, no, we're not making you versus Bilal on 300. Because he accepted a fight with Shavkat, he accepted a fight with Khamzat, he accepted a fight with fucking everyone. But then they just didn't want it. And he would have accepted the Bilal fight. Like, you're telling me that he wouldn't accept Bilal on 300, but he would accept him in England? Like, no. So, Leon Edwards, it's not entirely his fault. The UFC kind of just didn't want to put him on 300 against Bilal, which is fair enough. So, Edwards, I'm not going to give him too much slack, but he's definitely more towards the inactive side. Let's move on to another fighter. Charles Johnson, this guy's actually on crack. Listen to this UFC schedule, alright? July 2022, loses to Makhachev. November 2022, beats Zhalgas Zhumagulov in a split decision. January 2023, 2 months later, beats Jimmy Flick by TKO. February 2023, literally a month later, Ode Osborne loss. Cody Durden, April 2023, 2 months later, Cody Durden loss. Estevam, November 2023, so he actually took some time off, lost that fight, comes back February, so again, like, not that long after, 2024, fights Azat Maxim, wins. Jake Hadley in May, and now he's booked to fight Josh Van next weekend in July. So that's going to be like a month and a half turnaround. So, let me just count this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is going to be his 9th fight since July 2022. What the fuck? That's averaging out to like more than a fight every that's like less than like 3 months per fight. Like, what the fuck? This dude's on crack. Let's move on to another fighter. Colby Covington, inactive. Colby's inactive. Look, he fought Masvidal in March of 2023, and then he sat out for a year and a half, or over a year and a half, until March 2022, and then he sits out until December 2023, so, like, well over a year and a half, and I don't think we're not looking to see Colby fight until, like, probably, like, September or something. Like, I'd be shocked if he fought before September. So that's going to be, like, a 10-month break. So, yeah, Colby Covington, definitely an inactive fighter. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, Kevin Holland. He's crazy active, we know this. Let me just double check. I actually want to look up this guy's exact record. I could go off the top of my head, but I don't know exactly when the fights took place, because I know he went 5-0 in 2020, and that was like his big year. That was like the year of Kevin Holland when he was just crazy active. But he's been active since then. It's not like he had like a Khamzat Chimaev period where he fought 3 times and won off. Like, look at this guy's record, all right? He fought, okay, so since let's just look since his debut, all right? August 2018, then he fights November 2018, March 2019, June 2019, October 2019, May 2020. So this is the thing. His first fight in 2020 was in May. And this guy still clocked in 5 fights. May 2020, August 2020, September 2020, October 2020, December 2020, March 21, April 21. So he turns around again like a month later. October 21, March 22, June 22, September 22, December 22, so he clocks in another good 4 fights there. And then April 23, July 23, September 23, and then he fought MVP March 24, Michel Pereira June 24. Probably going to see him fight again like twice this year. Man, he's crazy active. You got to respect it, Kevin Holland. He's already getting up there for like most UFC fights, and he's only been in the company less than like 6 years. Crazy. Let's move on to another fighter. Michel Pereira. Middleweight Michel has been crazy because this dude fought October 2023, then he fights March 2024, then he fights May 2024. He was then like briefly booked for a fight in June with Dolidze. Instead, he's going to be fighting September against Fluffy Hernandez. So this guy's about to clock in 4 fights in 11 months. That's pretty fucking active. So good job, Michel Pereira. It's clearly a lot better for him up at middleweight because he doesn't have to train himself so much and he can actually do like the weight cut a lot easier. So it's great to see him up at 185. And imagine he fought Dolidze in fucking June. Because remember that fight was like briefly, it was actually booked, or it was like somewhat confirmed. And then Michel Pereira realized, he's like, no, I didn't sign a contract for Roman Dolidze. I thought I was going to fight someone else. So yeah, imagine he'd fought then, just back-to-back months. That would have been crazy. But let's move on to another fighter. Next up, we've got Alexandre Pantoja. Now, this guy, unlike Leon Edwards, he's on the more active side rather than inactive, because this dude, he did take a while off after the Perez fight until the title shot, but that's because he deserved the title shot, and he just had to wait for Moreno and Figgy to sort out their business. But he fought July against Moreno, then he fights December against Royval, then he fights, Then he fights May against Urseg, and now he's probably going to clock in another one before the end of the year. So, like, it's more on the active side. It's not crazy activity. Like, it was 6 months between fights, or like 5 months between fights. But yeah, I'll give Pantoja credit. He's definitely more active than Leon. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Alexander Rakich. Now, I'm putting him in inactive because his fight with Yuri in April was his first fight since, like, May, I think, of 2022, I want to say. This dude took a long time off. Or 2023, I forget. But regardless, Rakich took a while off. He's known to be even before that, he's known to be an inactive fighter. He pretty much fights once a year. We get the yearly Rakich fight. So hopefully we see him back this year because he's actually a really good fighter and he's a good addition to 205. But unfortunately, he just can't seem to get in the cage very often. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we got Khamzat Chimaev. This is current Khamzat. Is bro actually alive? I'm not sure. Dude seems to be sick with a new fucking illness every 2 weeks. Crazy stuff. Never in the cage. Last fought October. Before that, when was his last fight before that? Am I tripping? Well, am I retarded? Wait, let me see something. Khamzat. I just gotta go to Khamzat's Sherdog real quick. What was his last fight before fucking Usman? Was that the September one against? Yeah, it was September against fucking, what's his name? Holland. He took over a year off between the Holland fight and the Usman fight. Before that, it was April. This dude was so active, and spoiler, I'm gonna put like 2020 Khamzat in like later in the video, but this dude was so active, and now we've never seen him. So it's unfortunate. Probably gonna see him in October. Probably going to be another year between fights. Very tough for Khamzat. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, speak of. Khamzat Chimaev in 2020 was crazy active. He clocked in that 3 fights in like a month period when he fought July 15th, 2020, July 25th, 2020, and then September 19th, 2020. Yeah, so he clocked in like 3 fights in 2 months. Crazy stuff. That was 2020 Khamzat. I'll put him in here just because that was a thing at one point. Like, we did see that, but you know, it's been tough for Khamzat. There's been guys that debuted in fucking 2022 that have fought more times this decade than Khamzat. So that's tough. Anyway, let's move on to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, Alexander Volkanovski. You know, stand up for yourself. You got to keep me active, and I ain't fucking sitting out for more than 6 months. I'll tell you that much. Volk, that's probably the best Volk impression I've ever done, and it still wasn't even that good. But I can just never pull off a Volk impression. It's weird. Australians can't do a different Australian accent. It doesn't work. But Volkanovski, crazy active. Well, not crazy active. He's very active. What's Volk's schedule? Because he fought April 2022 against Korean Zombie. Then he fights July 2022 against Zombie. Then he weighs in as the backup. Then he fights Islam February 2023. Then he fights Yair 2023. Then he fights Islam again October 23. Then he fights Topuria February 24. And now this dude's saying he wants to get back in there in a lightweight fight before he fucking fights for the belt again at featherweight. I'm sorry, little bro. If you fucking fight at lightweight and you fight like Gaethje or some shit, you're going to get chinned. Or Poirier. He's going to just chin you somehow. And then you're not going to fucking get a title shot at featherweight. Like, don't do that, folks, please. You can sit out for more than 6 months. You don't have to keep me active, you know. I want to get back in the cage. You don't have to do that, Volk. Sit out. Just wait. You can get a fucking title shot next year. Doesn't matter. Just take some time to recover. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Ilia Topuria. Now, he's... Bro, again, similar to Leon, this guy is borderline inactive. He arguably should be there. Because you see this guy's yapping saying, the UFC's contacted him saying, Max Holloway's having family issues and he's having issues with the weight. Bro, the fight's in September. He does not have any issues with his family or any issues with the weight. Guarantee you that much. So this guy's yapping. I don't know what he's doing. But this dude fought December 2022 against what's his name? December 22 against Bryce Mitchell. Then he sits out until June 23 against Emmett. And then he sits out till February 24 against Volk. Well, if this guy stays in this kind of activity as champion, we're looking at like an Ilia fight every 7 months or every 8 months. Like, it's going to be rough. He's borderline inactive. I would lean towards calling him inactive. But to be fair, scheduling-wise, when's this guy going to fight? Like, he's not fighting in England. He's not going to fight in Australia. That's a disaster unless they did him versus Volk, which they don't want to do. So yeah, September, assuming that fight happens, that'll be how many months? Like 5 or 6 months between fights. That's not too bad. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up on the tier list, we've got Dominic Reyes. Dude's inactive. We get one. This is like the yearly Reyes fight. And I think we might actually get a second Reyes fight this year for the first time since like 2020. Because I think he fought Jones, then he fought Yarn in 2020, right? He got fucking chinned brutally. Comes back 2021, fights Reyes, comes back like end of 2022 against Span, gets knocked the fuck out, doesn't fight again for all of 2023, then fights Jacoby in 2024 in June. So this dude's been out for a hot minute. We do not see Reyes fight very often, and the only reason he's not in the Are You Alive tier is because he did fight the other week. So that's why we know Reyes is in fact alive, unlike Krylov. Let's move on though to another fight. Next up, we've got Stipe Miocic. I'm not convinced this guy's alive. You know, the hold up with the Jones fight might in fact be that Stipe is dead, and instead of just saying, oh yeah, let's just make the Aspinall fight, they're trying to find a way to revive a dead corpse. That is a good hypothesis for me, I think. Let me know in the comments, yes or no. Say yes or no in the comments. Is the UFC trying to find a way to revive Stipe's dead corpse, and that's why the fight's taking so long? Because I'm not convinced this dude's dead. Like, I'm convinced they got like a fucking... What's the thing called? The taxidermist or whatever, where they fill the animal. I think they got one of those for Stipe, and they just like used some strings and walked him out there. That's why he looked all funny when he was walking out there using a cane. So I do think Stipe might be dead. Dude has not fought since 2021 against Ngannou. Literally, Conor McGregor's fought more recently than Stipe. So yeah, bro might not be alive. Let's move on though to another fighter. Now we have to include one woman fighter per video, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to include the fighter that really isn't a woman. So Jessica Andrade, look at this, listen to this record, bro. Fights January 23 against Lauren Murphy, beats the fuck out of her for 3 rounds. Fights February against Blanchfield, literally a month later, loses. Fights May 2023 against Jianan, gets chinned, running forward like a spastic. Fights in August 2023, then fights November 2023. She fought 5 times in 2023, then she fought April 2024, and now she's fighting again in September this year. Pretty crazy activity. 2023, Jessica Andrade was crazy active. And the funny thing is, she went 2-3 in that year. She opens the year with a win and closed the year with a win. But the other 3 fights in between that were all losses. And honestly, it's actually more impressive to fight that much when you're losing fights, which is pretty crazy. Let's move on though to another fighter. Israel Adesanya, keep me active like an active volcano. Botched. Izzy, Jizzy, the puppy bender, he's been active. Look, everything about him is terrible, but you can respect the fact that this dude fights a lot, right? Let me just fucking take up your time and look up his record. Because I need to figure this out. I probably don't, but no, this guy's fought a lot. The inactivity recently has definitely pulled him down a little bit. Otherwise, he probably could have been in crazy active. Because he hasn't fought since September last year, so it's going to be 11 months off. But apart from that, what's this dude's schedule been like? He fights... Okay, so he fought Rob Wilkinson February 2018, Vettori April 2018, Tavares July 2018, Brunson November 2018, so 4 times in 2018, then Silva in 2019 February, April 2019 against Gastelum, October 2019 against Whitaker, March 2020 against Romero, September 2020 against Costa, March 21 against Blachowicz, June 21 against Vettori, February 22 against Whitaker, July 22 against Cannonier, November 22 against Pereira, April 23 against Pereira, September 23 against Strickland. So yeah, apart from that, now we're jumping 11 months and he hasn't fought since then. This dude has been crazy active since he debuted. How many fights in the UFC? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think he's had like 17, 16 fights in the UFC since 2018. That's pretty crazy. I'll give him credit. Good job, Jizzy. Everything else about you sucks though, so yeah, fuck you. Let's move on though to another fighter. Sean O'Malley. Imagine being a hater, dude. That would suck so bad. Sean O'Malley, Petey Jones petrified, Dominic Cruz is ducking me, Far Run, where you at? I don't even know why I'm just doing random impressions. This isn't even a video that requires impressions. But O'Malley, he's pretty average activity, right? Like, I assume he's gonna fight Merab in September. That seems to be what's happening. But like, this dude, when he was as a, contender, he was pretty active when he was on the rise, just beating up cans, but then he fights Jan in October of 2022, then he fights Aljo in August of 2023, and he fights Cheeto in March 2024. So this dude hasn't been crazy active in terms of championship fights, but he's not so inactive that I have to put him down a tier. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Jan Blachowicz. This dude is, he's borderline is bro alive, But we did see him the other day at the event. You know, he's looking to get back in there. He's injured though, so fair play. But even before that, Jan Blachowicz has never been like a crazy active fighter, to be honest. Like, he fought Pereira July of last year. He fought Magomed December 2022, so he took a pretty big break. He did fight Rakich in 2022, Glover in October 21, Israel in March 21, Reyes in September 2020. Like, this dude's not been a crazy active fighter, I would say. And as of right now, I would lump Blachowicz in with the inactive group. But before that, like back in the day, he fought twice in 19, or 3 times in 2019, twice in 2020, 3 times in 2017. So yeah, Blachowicz, but recently, you know, he's going to be well over a year. When he comes back, it's going to be over a year since he's fought. So, Jan Blachowicz definitely on the inactive side. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Ciryl Gane. No. He's not trying to fight very often. I must fight only once a year in the Paris. And then I fight fat heavyweight. 50-punch TKO, back of the head combination. And I wait for title shot. That's the Ciryl Gane classic there. Oui, yes, bonjour. No, that's the Ciryl Gane special, you know, fights once a year in September in Paris, gets a 50-punch back of the head TKO against a fat man, and then he waits out and calls for a title shot and says, I don't want to fight down in the ranking, it don't make sense for me, I must fight only upwards. But Ciryl, you're ranked number 1. Exactly, that's tells me I must fight for a title shot. Ciryl Gane, how's my French impression there? How's my Gane impression? But yeah, dude's like, what the fuck? Where's he been? I assume he's gonna fight in September. If not, then I don't know when the fuck bro's fighting again. Apparently he's chosen to be a fucking movie star, and he wants to like hold the torch for the Olympic Games for one of the events or something, for the like the opening ceremony or some shit. Dude's just going on side quests instead of actually fighting. But I'm sure we'll get our yearly Ciryl Gane back at the head TKO, and we're going to love it. It's going to be great. And then we're going to get him on the MMA hour saying, I know fight back is the rankings. No make sense for me. No. Alexander Volkov, I already beat that man so far. No, I don't fight anyone else. Jalton Almeida, what you're talking about? Is ranked number 7. It don't make sense for me. I don't like this fight. But anyway, let's move on to another fighter. So, I'm moving Pereira to the top tier, crazy active, and I'm putting Sean Strickland as very active. That's what I'm going to do. Sean Strickland, dude's been pretty active. Look, now he's starting to seem like he's going to fade into the inactive tier, because now he's saying that he's waiting out for a title shot. Here's the fucking thing, man. I'm waiting for a title shot, man. But Sean Strickland, before that, like before the Costa fight, dude was pretty crazy active. Like, he fought Hermansson, he fought like Pereira in July 2022, fought Cannon in December, fights Amavov in January the next year. Then he couldn't get a fight, so he had to wait until he fought Abbas, and then he fought Izzy. Like, he's never been like crazy active, but he's always been a very active dude. We saw this dude in the Apex every fucking 3 months. It was like a regular thing. But now he's gone mainstream, you know, he can't fight in the Apex anymore. Let's move on though to another fighter. Ian Cacciado, Garry, sit down, shut up and do what you're told. Ian Garry, look, he's kept a very fucking good schedule, to be fair. He fought November of 2021, April 2022, July 2022, March 23, so he had a bit of a gap there, May 23, August 23. He was then going to fight Luque in December, which would have been 4 fights in the year. Couldn't make that fight. February 24, June 24. Fair play, Ian Garry. You've kept pretty active. How many fights is that? 36. That's 8 fights since November 21. I'll give him credit. That's pretty solid. Let's move on to another fighter. Last in the average activity tier, we're going to go Islam Makhachev. Dude's been very average in terms of the activity. He's probably leaning more towards the active side than inactive. I'll give him credit. But what's his schedule been? Because he fought February 2022 against Bobby Green, and then didn't fight again until October 22 against Oliveira. Then he fights February against Volk. Then he fights October against Volk. And then he fights June against Poirier. So yeah, the dude has not been very active. It's been like probably, apart from the turnarounds between the Oliveira and the Volk fight, that was a good bit of activity from him. But apart from that, we've been seeing like Islam fight every 6 months, 7 months. So yeah, let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, Jonathan Jones, inactive. Now, he arguably should be in the bottom tier, but his situation doesn't really fit the bottom tier. Because the bottom tier is just for like guys that like, bro, do you exist still? Are you still fighting? But John Jones, he still exists. He still exists as a wife beater. as a PED user. Like, that's what he still exists as. But he exists as that person that hasn't fought since March of last year. And unlike Dana saying, you know, he got hurt. Jon Jones, he got hurt. You know, you can't, just because a guy got injured when he was booked to fight, doesn't mean that he can't be pound for pound number one. Dana White just getting aggressively fucking angry over nothing. Jon Jones, you know, this guy's the GOAT. But anyway, let's move on to another fighter. Conor McGregor. Mate, what you talking about? I'm more active than all of these fools. Yeah, Topuria, Osman, all these fuckers, I'm more active than all of them. Nah, Conor, you haven't fought in fucking yonks. Look, he's alive, we know it, but realistically, if we didn't see a Conor McGregor fucking on like a kick stream clip every 2 weeks, then we'd think he's dead. But anyway, guys, that's the video done. Like, subscribe, follow my Instagram. Peace out. Bye.